This here is issue number 5 of the Power Rangers comic by Boom Studios. The Omega Rangers have arrived on the planet Onyx. As this is a world of evil aliens, the Rangers can't be themselves. So Jason and Zack walk into town, disguised, agreeing to only morph when necessary. Dracon told them to go to a place where the ugliest monsters are, so the Rangers arrive at this bar. Zack orders water and gives a bribe to the bartender so they could find Fendrick Prot. The bartender sends the Rangers over. Zack proceeds to barter with Prot for a fusion converter, but Prot tells him that a fusion converter is very expensive. He will, however, gamble with a chance for the Rangers to win the fusion converter. And despite this being an alien game, Zack agrees to play it. Back aboard Spectrum 2, C and Trini are working on repairs to the ship. Dracon knows about Onyx because this was the first place he came to after escaping his prison world. He made enemies here and is keen to leave the planet. Trini takes the opportunity to ask why Dracon tried to conquer the universe even after he killed his adversaries. He tells her it's because when he was homeless, he spent the night with another homeless woman and she stole his wallet and shoes. So Dracon didn't want to be preyed on again. He wanted to be in control. Even though the Tommy of Trini's world went through exactly the same thing, he didn't turn out like Dracon. But Dracon tells Trini that under the right circumstances, Tommy would become Dracon. Back to Zack and Prot's card game. This is the last chance, and Prot is betting his winnings and the fusion converter over Zack's small stack and his morpher. Zack tells Jason he knows what he's doing and throws the morpher in. He thinks he's won the game, but Prot reveals his hand and wins the game, thereby taking Zack's morpher. He points a gun at Zack and warns him not to complain, but then someone cuts off one of Prot's tentacles. That turned out to be Astronema from Power Rangers in Space. She's there because she wants to kill the two Power Rangers. Jason and Zack try to conceal their identities, but Astronema's not having any of it. As they begin to fight, they kick up a lot of game cards into the air, so Zack realizes that Prot was cheating all along. Prot returns Zack's morpher, and just as he was about to beat up Prot, Jason tells him to forget about Prot and focus on Astronema instead. So they both morph in front of the other aliens. As this is Onyx, we've got a direct reference to Grum, the villain from Power Rangers S.P.D. It's years before the S.P.D. TV show's timeline, but Grum is already active here. More on that later. Astronema won't let anyone get their hands on the Rangers. She wants to take the Rangers for herself. The battle is taken outside, and it's a pretty even fight. As Astronema gives a typical comic book villain's speech, she's cut off as the Rangers and Astronema get caught by Space Patrol Delta. It's years before the S.P.D. TV show, so it's not the Power Rangers S.P.D. we're used to seeing. Anyway, S.P.D. are taking Astronema and the Rangers away. Everyone else can carry on as normal. Back at Spectrum 2, C can do more than one thing at a time, unlike a human. So aside from repairing the ship, he's been researching on who may have seen the Red Emissary. There is someone from 16,000 years ago, a philosopher from Edenoi. He had a vision of the birth of the universe. He talked of the first ones and 3 messengers. Trini and C deduced that the first ones are the Morphin Masters and the messengers are the emissaries. The situation the Rangers find themselves in all started after the death of the Blue Emissary. The Imperials are the shadows of the emissaries and they're rising. At S.P.D. Onyx Perimeter Station, Jason is currently being questioned. He tells S.P.D. that they're on the same side and the Rangers are trying to prevent a repeat of what happened on Governor's 3. S.P.D. then asks him where Lord Dracon is. Jason tries to play dumb, but then Zordon's message is played in front of Jason. It's the message asking people who come across the Omega Rangers and Dracon to bring them in. So Zordon is a friend of the S.P.D., so that's why S.P.D. are cooperating with him. Astronema and Zack are sharing a cell. Astronema wants to kill the Power Rangers because they murdered her entire family, she says. She then gets up from her seat and pins Zack to the ground as she tries to stab him. Zack is able to punch Astronema in the chest to knock her away, but before the fight can continue, the cell is divided into two to stop the fight. Zack tells Astronema he's sorry for what happened to her family, but she needs to get her facts straight. At Spectrum 2, a stranger arrives at the ship and immediately, Drakon engages the stranger in battle. You can see from the lines on the face under the hood, it's Ecliptor, another antagonist from Power Rangers in Space. C and Trini rush to the scene and see Drakon fighting the intruder. Ecliptor then waves his blade and says enough. As Trini suggests to C to call in Yale, Ecliptor pleads with the Ranger team and tells them he's not there to fight. He's there because he believes they can help one another. This was enjoyable for a few reasons. I liked how we got references to other series like In Space and S.P.D. We got a clue as to who the Imperial are, and if true, it's quite the twist to have the emissaries' shadows be the bad guys in this story arc. I liked Astronema's appearance in this Mighty Morphin era. It'll be interesting to see her story in the Heir to Darkness one-shot. One thing has me puzzled though. We know that this is not the early to mid-90s anymore. The Mighty Morphin era was brought forward in time for the comics to make it modern. S.P.D. showed up in Shattered Grid, but that was a fight across time and space. I can understand that. However, S.P.D. in the TV series took place in 2025. That was clearly stated in the TV series. So when does S.P.D. take place here? Is it still 2025, or is it much further into the future this time? Will we even find out? Maybe not. But it's nice to see S.P.D. show up here because it's a space adventure after all. I'd like to see what Ecliptor does next in Power Rangers and how it all fits together with Heir to Darkness.